Okay, so the other day I was reading this book called Solve for Happy, which is pretty interesting. It was by a guy who is like the head of Google X, so like a freaking genius. That's like their business and like innovation part of their business. And he basically spent 10 years researching happiness after his son passed away, trying to figure it all out. And one of the first things he says is really simple thing you can do is try this. Just basically lay out the phrase, I feel happy when, and just keep listing that out and see what you learn. And it'll teach you a lot about what's important to you, where your happiness comes from, and how to get more of it. So I thought, all right, good experiment. Let's try it. So as I said in this video, we're gonna break down this happy list exercise. I'll give a little bit of what I did, what I found, a review, and how I think you can best apply it. So I will spare you reading my entire list, but I went through this for about 20 minutes. And the first thing I'll say is I think that the exercise itself, or this protocol of just listing out, I feel happy when, and then you fill in the blank, can actually improve your mood slightly. And the reason for this is because it's essentially shifting your attention. It's kind of like a cognitive bias. So sometimes when we talk about priming, this is something that comes from psychology, it means you can bias your own perception to note specific things. So if I were to ask you something about like, hey, how's the weather where you live? And then I was to ask you how happy you are, studies have actually shown that if you live in a place with crappy, bad weather, you might say you're a little less happy. Why? Because I primed your perception to think about happiness in the context of the weather. So if you just swap that out, it's been like 2 months later and you forgot about it, and I just ask you, hey, what's your favorite sports team? And then I ask you how happy you are, it might be that the performance of your sports team biases your result. So the point here is that by kind of priming our attention, we can change how we feel. And so this thing, it's asking you to think of all the things of like, I'm happy when. So in that moment, it's biasing your mind to look for things that are going right then, as opposed to things that are going wrong. Looking for good things versus problems. So just doing this, actually, I felt a little bit of an improvement in mood. So anyway, I just wrote stream of consciousness. I didn't think too much about it scientifically, but I feel happy when cup of black coffee. That's great English. When I consume a cup of black coffee, when I get stuff done, when I see friends, when I visit the Humane Society where I volunteer as a dog socializer, laugh, lift weights, go outside, play fantasy football, read interesting stuff, watch a good show, get a good sleep, see a dog, maybe see a cat, depending on the cat, but not as much. Okay, so nothing super powerfully insightful, I would say, in what I wrote down. But here's what I think the value is of this, right? I just said that it can boost your mood a little bit, just the fun exercise of doing it for like literally 5 minutes if you wanted to just list I'm happy whens. But, as it's pointed out in the book where this draws from, as I showed earlier, Solve for Happy, I think this can be useful for a couple of reasons. Number one is almost like tools in your toolkit when you're feeling a little bit down or feeling a little bit low or you've had a rough start to your day, right? If you have this list handy somewhere, you might go back and say, okay, well, is there anything I can do right now to just boost a little bit of happiness? And so for me right now, I might say, all right, I already had a cup of coffee today, so I don't want to have a second one. I want to keep getting stuff done, but that's kind of my whole day. It's 11 in the morning. I'm probably not going to go see my friends. Oh, I could laugh. I could throw on a video that's funny for like 2 minutes just to reset myself. Or maybe I could just go for a walk outside. So it's kind of like, again, this inventory of almost like little antidepressants, but again, not in pill form, but in activity form that you can just keep on you for when you need it. And the second benefit, though, that I think is most powerful is a bit more of a reflection exercise. As you make this list, you think back and try to find common patterns, and maybe you even think about how you're spending your time. Because if I look at this, it's like get stuff done. Okay, I probably spend a little too much time doing that as an early stage business owner and author and speaker. And then it's like laughing. Okay, so I think I'm pretty positive and happy is given my channel and everything I talk about. It'd be a little weird if I wasn't, but I could honestly probably be a little goofier and laugh a little more. I could probably spend more time outside and just like being in nature. I could probably spend more time volunteering, or I mentioned as the dog socializer, and even just reading interesting stuff. It dawned on me the other day that I've really only read like 2 or 3 books this year, despite creating a lot of content, which for me makes me way less happy. So I think there's an additional value add here. Not only do you kind of feel good doing it and you have a few tools in your toolkit when you need them to boost your happiness a little bit, but you can also almost do like an inventory or reflection on life as a whole. Are you living in alignment with your values? Are you spending time in the things that actually lead to more happiness and positive emotion? And that's so important. So there's actually some good research to this point. Some of my favorite work actually around happiness because of how practical it is a researcher named Dr. Lana Catalino. She talks about prioritizing positivity, prioritizing positivity. And what she says is that you don't need to focus on happiness. If you just focus on happiness all the time, it actually tends to make you a little less happy and more stressed. What you do is you think about this list. I want to prioritize spending time on the things that lead to happiness, right? So you don't focus on the outcome or the result of happiness. Happiness is really just a symptom or an end result of some cause, isn't it? Usually, right? We feel good because of, or I feel good when I. And so focus less on the result and more on the input or the source or the sort of root that leads to the happiness. And so I think that's where this list comes in. Like I said, even as I just look at it right now, it's like, okay, I want to be happier, right? Probably a good goal to have. So could I spend more time just seeing my friends? Could I spend more time watching comedies or doing stuff that makes me laugh? Could I spend more time exercising outside? Could I spend more time volunteering at the dog shelter? Any of these things, if I were to inventory my time and spend a little bit more time prioritizing those things, ultimately I'm going to be happier. So here's what I suggest in my review. I think this is actually an excellent protocol, despite being like kind of crazy simple. Like you telling me, Jackson, you literally just write down, I feel happy when blank, I feel happy when, I feel happy when. Yes, that is what I'm telling you. And the guy who came up with this protocol, again, Mo Gaudet, pretty cool guy, very smart, much smarter than me, so you can take his word for it too. And so here is my review. I'm going to give this protocol kind of like a 9 out of 10. I think it's really good, really effective, both in the moment and reflecting on how you're spending your time as a whole. So I will leave you with this practice to try as an experiment for yourself now, and I'd love to have you send me your list or comment down below or let me know what you think. But one more time, here is the protocol from this book. You are simply going to write down, I feel happy when, ... I feel happy when blank. Write down all the things that's true for you. You can do this in 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, whatever you want to do. And once you have that list, you're going to be feeling good. Think about those as tools you can have in your pocket, right? Whenever you need a little antidepressant, you can pick from one of those sources, right? Assuming it's hopefully healthy. If you say on there, I'm happy when I have a glass of wine and it's 8 in the morning, maybe don't have the glass of wine. So there's some discretion that's needed. And then you can think, well, how could I adjust or optimize my time to invest more in these things that bring me happiness? And I think in doing this, you'll feel better in the moment and also be happier in daily life. So that's it. On this channel, I do my best to break down both the art and science of happiness, as well as some stuff like this that's kind of just from practical firsthand thought and experience. And this is something you can use often. I do little experiments like this. I offer tools or practices that you can try to help be at your best. So here's a video that YouTube suggests you'll like. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.